The top of the mountain is beautiful this time of year. The trees are gilded in gold, the leaves copper bright in the afternoon sunlight. Autumn is setting in, but the nip in the air is pleasant after the heat of a Georgia summer. As you crunch through the leaf litter, you follow a thick stone wall, running your finger over the ancient rough rock. You think back to the legend that the park ranger told you about strange little people that are said to have built this wall. They wouldn't have been able to tolerate the bright light of this lovely afternoon. I'm Christiana.
I'm Bree.
And I'm Allie.
Settle in and prepare to dive into some wild legends.
Because you're about to hear
something strange.
Welcome to episode 35, Moon-Eyed People.
So, as you guys might notice, we have made a little bit of a change to our catalog. Before, this third episode of the month would have been a snapshot, but we decided to make them part of our normal catalog because, as you wonderful people know, we are not good at making short episodes.
No.
Except maybe this one, actually.
This one might be shorter than you're used to.
So these are still going to relate to other episodes earlier in the catalog. And these are generally still going to be polls unless there's a special occasion.
Right.
So not called a snapshot anymore, but it's a similar idea because we are really not good at brevity.
Brevity is not our strong suit.
All right. So before we hop too far into the episode, we're going to introduce our guest, Allie.
Hello.
Hooray!
Hello.
You might recognize her. This is your fourth time on the show.
Yeah.
Because you were on for, I almost said pendulation. That's an EMDR protocol. That's my favorite EMDR protocol. You were on for the pendulum episode, which you led beautifully. Our Appalachian Folklore, Wampus Cat, which was the spinoff, the snapshot of that, and now another snapshot. And I'll let Christiana describe that in a second. But do you want to say hello to the lovely listeners and tell them where to find you and Happy Labrador Studios?
Hello, I'm Allie. I've been on here a couple times. You can find me online with my beautiful art on, at Happy Labrador Studios, and I am on Facebook and Instagram. And I also have a Redbubble store.
Go check her stuff out.
Which features the pod dog, Roxy.
She's a wonderful artist. You should definitely check her work out. She does great work. And the pod dog is here. The pod dog is just under the weather right now.
Yeah, she's very much snuggled up in a blanket between us right now.
No.
Yeah, she had a rough day.
I didn't realize she was there.
Her sleeping.
Yeah.
Her eepy-seepy.
Did you want to jump into the connected episode?
Yes. This is our episode based on the main episode of Appalachian Folklore, Appalachian Folklore, that, as we said, Allie was on for. And this is about the Moon-Eyed People, who are, I don't know if you would call it a cryptid. It was more of a legend based on my research, but we talked about them a little bit in that main episode. Or I guess it's not really a main episode anymore because this is now a main episode. Do you guys remember what Moon-Eyed People were?
I believe I got this right on our little game we were playing in that episode. It's basically like this race of like small people with, I wouldn't say they're blue. They have blue eyes, but they have really light colored eyes that they say reflect the moon or look like the moon or something like that. And I think they're known to be aggressive, if I remember, or territorial or something like that.
Yeah.
So I believe that was my episode, right?
Yes.
Let's see. Let's see what I remember from it. Like Allie said, they were a race of only men for some reason.
Really?
They were. I don't remember them describing any
women.
Did you find any women?
Not really.
They kind of reminded me of dwarfs or like other fey creatures.
Androgynous.
They're androgynous. And I remember something like they include like their hobbies included like building lodgings, fishing, and like waging war or something.
So I will say right at the top of this episode, a lot of my research was a lot of, well, this author quoted this author, who then quoted this author. It was a lot of game of telephone. And I'm going to say it right at the top here again. It was very whitewashed, a lot of what I found. So we're going to take all this with a grain of salt. I did my best to keep everything clear and try to understand some of the research as best I could. Because like I said, it got so convoluted at times that I was like, wait, how does any of this connect? I do want to give a quick trigger warning. There is going to be mention and probably discussion, knowing us, about displacement of indigenous people by colonists, which is never a fun time. So who are the Moon-Eyed people? Often described as small people with pale skin, fair hair, and bright pale eyes. One of their most defining characteristics is that they can't see well during the day, though some also say that they don't see well during certain phases of the moon when it's particularly bright. There are several theories as to who these people are. Could be that they were a prehistoric race living in the southern Appalachians before the indigenous Cherokee people moved into that area. It could be a group of people descended from Welsh explorers. Some say they are a group or tribe of albino people.
I'm sorry, those two things are so different.
We're wild in here.
I'm gonna add in, when you were first reading the description of them, my brain was like, the Swedes.
The Swedes!
Like, either you're prehistoric or you're Welsh.
There are no
Like, there's no between. Also, I know prehistoric isn't just dinosaurs, but my brain is like imagining them in like the Flintstones.
Yes, absolutely yes.
Wasn't one of the Flintstone kids, wasn't he blonde? Was it Bam Bam?
Maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe?
It was Bam Bam the whole time.
It was Bam Bam the whole time. So many sources stated that the Moon-Eyed people were a prehistoric people that lived in the Appalachians before the Cherokee, and their territory was thought to range between Georgia, North Carolina, and into Tennessee. And I looked at a map to see how everything lined up there, because I'm not up super par on my geography, and there is a spot where all three of those states meet, so that could make sense.
Georgia, North Carolina, okay, and Tennessee.
Mm-hmm. A frequently talked about piece of evidence that, according to believers, points at the existence of Moon-Eyed people is the stone wall at aptly named Fort Mountain State Park in Georgia. Fort Mountain State Park is located on Fort Mountain in the Cohutta Mountains. Cohutta, maybe? Cohutta. Excuse me.
It's, if you're from there, like, thank you for listening.
Yes.
Tell us.
Please, please correct us.
But kindly, if possible.
Yes. According to gastateparks.org, quote, the mysterious 855-foot-long wall is thought to have been built by early Indians as fortification against more hostile Indians or for ancient ceremonies. That is a direct quote from the website. However, other sources say no one is actually really sure who built this wall. Archaeologists date the wall to being built somewhere between 600 and 1500. I didn't get exact on this. I'm assuming that means AD or CE, depending on whatever you're using. It's 12 feet thick, and it runs between 2 and 8 feet tall, although due to how thick it is, it's thought that it could have actually been taller and kind of just crumbled over time.
Like almost eroded?
Yeah. It circles roughly 100 acres at the top of Fort Mountain. And according to legend, the wall was also there before the Cherokee people were. It is also built in a way that was not used by the indigenous people, and it actually mimics early European battlements, which is interesting.
Really interesting.
Yeah. Another piece of evidence is a statue that was found in 1841. There was a farmer named Felix Ashley who was out plowing his field when he discovered something strange. Lols.
We need the
But I'll put that in. He discovered this in his field. The artifact was a 3-foot tall statue depicting 2 humanoid figures. And I'm going to give my description of this statue based on the photograph of it with my art history background.
Can you do this as dramatically as humanly possible?
Yeah.
Okay.
Sure.
I'm here for it.
Kid in it.
I'm going to get it.
Did you ever do theater?
No, I kind of want to, but I have stage fright.
Can I tell you a quick story?
Yeah.
I tried to do a musical one time because I really wanted to do them because I sing.
Yeah.
And you know what happened? It got canceled because too many people quit. That's not related to me.
Oh.
The lead, a female, was having an issue and had to go somewhere to get help.
Oh no.
And then the understudy for the female lead, the male lead didn't like them. So then they refused. And so
Oh
then
my
everyone
God.
else refused. And then my one chance at being in a musical before I had to like work and shit.
Oh no. That's very sad.
It was
I'm
Kiss Me.
sorry.
It was Kiss Me, Kate. I don't know if you.
I've heard of it. I don't know what it's about.
Anyways,
I would love to do theater, but I have extreme stage fright, which
just don't have
I'm trying to
time.
get past.
I just
Yeah.
don't have time. Like I think I would do okay.
Yeah. I might take an acting class.
Oh, you should.
I want to. I'm trying really hard to get past the stage fright. But anyway,
Sorry.
no, you're good.
Okay, dramatic.
The two figures stand side by side with their arms entwined, as though their shoulders are leaning against one another. One is slightly taller than the other, and they both have large, oval-shaped heads and flat faces. They both have large eyes shaped like horizontal ovals, the taller one having larger, more circular orbs. Their noses are depicted as very elongated semicircles, semi-ovals, one could even say, and their mouths are depicted as smaller than their eyes and marked with a small horizontal gash in the stone. Could these be early depictions of moon-eyed people? Possibly.
That was wonderful.
Thanks. Blake Roman, come on the podcast. My debut.
I really hope that turned out good on the iPad.
According to one of my sources, the statue could have been carved by moon-eyed people themselves, depicting aliens, versus someone else carving the statue depicting moon-eyed people. I don't know.
What?
I don't know, friends. I put it in because I found it. I don't know.
Well, wait. So, was your source Ancient Aliens?
No. Okay. All of my sources are linked. You guys can look at them. I forget which one I found that on.
So they're like, you know what? We have decided that the Native Americans couldn't have done this, and this race of either prehistoric people or Welsh people or prehistoric Welsh people must have seen aliens, and that's the only explanation that makes sense. It must have been aliens.
Moon-eyed people were like aliens.
Aliens. Do you have any comments on this, Allie?
It could have been the Swedes. It could have been the Swedes.
Moon-eyed people were like Swedes. Oh my God, we are off the rails, friends.
Was it a sandhill crane?
Maybe it was a sandhill crane. Maybe the sandhill crane carved the statue.
He also learned Kung Fu.
Maybe. Amir Salai, come on the podcast. I think he played Crane in the Kung Fu Panda series.
Who was it?
Amir Talai.
I think you're
plays
right.
Alista.
He might have.
I think he. It wasn't in the movie. But I think he
think the
played. I'm pretty
series.
sure he played in the Crane in the series.
Oh,
Yeah.
do you want to hear another really random Has-Been Hotel
Yes.
tie-in?
All the time.
Jeremy Jordan is Lucifer.
Yes.
He played a character on the Tangled animated series called Varian.
I've heard he's a little cutie pie. Varian.
Very. Okay, yeah.
That was his name, right?
I think.
I-
I never really got to watch the
I
series.
I like binge. Here's a fun fact. Tangled is my favorite Disney movie,
I do love that movie.
and I like binged the animated series.
I want to watch it. It's probably on Disney Plus, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, aliens. This statue currently resides in Murphy, North Carolina at the Cherokee County Historical Museum, and I want to go see it. Now, there is also a news article from 1828 in the newspaper The Cherokee Phoenix that describes 3 strange burial grounds found close to the town of Sparta, Tennessee. These 3 burial grounds allegedly contained, quote, very small people buried in rough stone coffins.
Could they just been children?
Maybe. Well,
Do children
so-
exist?
Children do exist, but allegedly the tallest of the skeletons was only 19 inches, despite evidence showing that some of the deceased had lived into their elderly years. So I guess they looked at like what their teeth looked like, and
I'm
like,
sorry, what were they? Fruit flies or something?
I don't know.
I'm just like
Tiny.
that's like almost a little under 2 feet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Tiny little peoples.
Weird things happen, though.
Was it?
They do. I didn't see a picture. This was a really old newspaper, though.
Okay.
And
Picture,
it was
it didn't happen.
Picture, it didn't happen. All of the remains apparently held mugs containing seashells. They had mugs. And one skeleton was supposedly found wearing a string of 94 pearl beads.
Damn.
Get it, queen.
Damn.
I say, get it, my 1940s queen.
Yeah.
This legend, as we've been talking about, is related to the Cherokee people. There are multiple legends where the Cherokee have had interactions with the Moon-Eyed people or possibly their forebears.
There's four. Oh, I almost just smacked myself in the face. Are the forebearers the aliens?
Maybe that's... There we go. It's all coming together.
Or is it the Swedes?
No, it's the Welsh. No, it's the Welsh.
It's the sandhill crane.
Forget evolution. We all came from sandhill
We
cranes.
all came from sandhill cranes.
In case this reference is not being caught, that was what people said Mothman was.
Yes. Yes.
And the Jersey Devil,
Oh, right.
our good friend.
Our good friend, the donut making Jersey Devil.
Sure.
Alex, like, I'm not convinced. That's what the sandhill cranes want you to think.
10-foot tall moth creature. It was a bird with long legs.
I love him. I'll be first to say it. I love him. One of these legends was described by frontiersman and 1801 governor of Tennessee, John Sevier. John Sevier was familiar with the Cherokee people as, here's where our trigger warning is involved. He was involved in treaties that removed the Cherokee people from their lands. Gross.
Familiar. Quotations.
Yeah. In 1782, he discovered what looked like a military compound in Georgia. This is the wall we discussed earlier in what would eventually become Fort Mountain State Park. And according to Sevier, the elderly Cherokee chief Okotosoda had been taught by his own elders that the fort was, quote, built by white men from across the Great Water. Sevier also stated that Chief Okotosoda had told him there had been a war between the Cherokee people and these alleged Moon-Eyed people. Eventually, the Moon-Eyed people surrendered under the agreement that they would be able to leave peacefully. And as well, Sevier had searched for a book from a quote-unquote old Welsh tribe descendant that was apparently owned by a Cherokee elder, but the book was never found because he learned it had been burned in a fire.
That's convenient.
Literally, the article said that. The book, I'm pretty sure the quote from the article was, the book had conveniently been burned in a fire.
Maybe I ghost wrote the article.
Maybe you did.
Was it well written or badly written?
Well written. You probably ghost wrote it.
I'll take
I'll take credit for it.
I'll take the credit.
I'll take the credit for that.
Perfect. So, origins of these people. Oh boy, do we have theories. Let's talk about Welsh settlers here for a minute. Back to the Welsh. In Welsh legend, an explorer by the name of Prince Madog ab Owen Gwynedd, per Google AI overview, that's how that's pronounced, set out on a sea voyage. Supposedly, this was to escape a civil war between his siblings after the death of their father, who was a real Welsh king. Like, this guy for certain existed. His name was Owen Gwynedd. Madog was said to have discovered America, I say discover loosely, in 1170 before Christopher Columbus. I will say, I use the term discovered lightly because there were already people in America. They were the indigenous people. He allegedly came upon Mobile Bay in what is now Mobile, Alabama, and he was so impressed by this new land that he, in 1171, he set out to find this place again, but this time with several other boats filled with colonists. However, they never arrived. And some people believe he actually went a little bit too far south and found Panama instead of Mobile Bay.
Like the second time.
Yes, on their second voyage.
I hate it when I get lost.
I hate it when the GPS leads me astray. At this point,
Allie has a thought.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah. So my brain took Panama and it translated to Pan Am.
Panama.
Yes. The place in the Hunger Games.
Yes. Yes.
Oh, goodness. That would not be a...
Oh, that makes sense. I was like, wait.
Accidentally went to the Hunger Games.
So at this point, I want to take a jump to the left and talk about one Benjamin Barton, a researcher who wrote, quote, well, not really a quote, it's a book title, New Views of the Origin of the Tribes and Nations of America. This was a book written in 1797. And in this book, Barton quoted one Colonel Leonard Marbury, who was an officer in the Continental Army during the American Revolution. And this colonel settled in Georgia after the war. The colonel referenced the Cherokee people coming across the Moon-Eyed people when they moved into the area that they would eventually claim for themselves, and stated that the Cherokee people, quote unquote, expelled these other people.
What does that mean?
Well, it kind of ties in with Severe's story of the big war between them. So essentially, if they fought a war over land with the Moon-Eyed people. There's also discussion in Barton's book that the Moon-Eyed people were actually the ancestors of an albino tribe that lived in Panama. According to Barton, Welsh explorer Lionel Wafer came across and lived with people in Panama known as the Guna people, who supposedly had a harder time seeing in the day than they did at night. And at this point, I want to just kind of like tie together what I was understanding from all of the like he said and then he said and then he said. So my takeaway, Prince Madoc sailed from Wales and found what is now Mobile Bay. When Madoc tried to return to Mobile Bay, he missed the mark and landed in Panama instead, where he found this tribe of albino people. This albino tribe was, according to Barton, the descendants of the Moon-Eyed people referenced by Cherokee legend. So my theory, Moon-Eyed people originally held land that the Cherokees fought a war with them over, and eventually the Moon-Eyed people surrendered, which checks out with Severe's story that he apparently heard from the native chief. When the Moon-Eyed people surrendered and left, they migrated way far south and eventually landed in Panama. That being said, Moon-Eyed people wouldn't have been ancestors of Welsh colonists. So I don't know if any of that's actually true. Again, that was just me trying to form some kind of picture in the little bits of puzzle pieces that all these different authors, these white authors, I want to point out, were saying.
So you're telling me they're not aliens?
I mean, they could have been. I just don't know.
You didn't get
They weren't the Welsh. They were not Welsh.
So if they were not Welsh, then obviously the answer is either the Fae,
aliens,
or Sando Cranes.
A Myrtle. They were a Myrtle. So, got some other historical references that I can try to throw in here. One story is that of Reverend Morgan Jones, another white explorer that came hundreds of years after the Prince Madoc supposedly sailed. And he had a story of a tribe of Welsh-speaking indigenous people. Supposedly, he was captured by a native chief and nearly lost his life. But one of the sources that I used stated that this chief allegedly was a pale-skinned, blue-eyed, and spoke the Welsh language.
Question.
Yes.
The countries that these other explorers were from, did they have a beef with the Welsh?
I don't know. I was having a hard time figuring out where anyone was from besides the Welsh.
The British.
Well, my thought with that is when people have other countries they don't like, sometimes they demonize them.
Mm-hmm.
And we know that the Europeans that came to the Americas kind of did that with the native people already here to some extent. And it's like, well, if we don't like the Welsh, we're just going to throw them.
Well,
and put them on the same level as the natives. This
guy, Morgan Jones, it doesn't necessarily sound like a white name, a Welsh name. Sorry. It doesn't necessarily sound like a Welsh name, but so the rest of the story is that, and this was by a different source, this chief that caught and almost executed Jones actually ended up sparing him because he heard Jones speaking the Welsh language and supposedly understood that language.
Interesting. So, but like, you don't have to be Welsh to know Welsh. Even
True.
though Welsh is a obnoxiously hard language, apparently.
Yeah. So I've heard.
Do you have any thoughts
No.
on the Welsh?
No.
Sorry, no.
met a Welshman. He was very nice.
You what?
I met a Welshman. He was actually really nice.
Oh,
He was very friendly.
I just want to insert the clip of David Tennant saying that really long Welsh town name.
Oh my god.
And Michael Sheen being really excited that he was actually able to say it. We stand Michael Sheen in this house. We love him. So there's obviously problems with this story. The big one that I thought was really interesting, and this was actually pointed out in a YouTube video that I watched for my research here, it's really unlikely that a tribe that learned the Welsh language from a Welsh speaker from Maddox's time, 1170, would understand the same language spoken by a Welsh speaker hundreds of years later, because language changes.
That's a good point, because I mean, if we went back to the 1600s, we would have a hard-ish time understanding English.
Oh yeah. Even reading like works from that time, you have to like decipher what people are saying.
Pickle for the knowing ones.
Oh, Timmy D. Oh, Timmy. Sweet lad.
I did try to read some of that, and I couldn't stop it. I couldn't stop laughing.
I couldn't get more than what I would call a sentence. There's no punctuation, but I couldn't get more than a couple words in. I was like, I can't do this. So the other thing was there was a Welsh historian, Gwen Williams, that might be actually pronounced Glenn. It's Gwyn, or Glyn. And this was found to be false by this historian. It was potentially a hoax. Explorers, some other historical references in here, Meriwether Lewis and William Clark, might have heard of them, were instructed to search for supposed quote-unquote Welsh Indians, and that is a direct quote, those are not my words, in 1804 by the then president Thomas Jefferson. Jefferson was allegedly fascinated by stories of the, again, quote-unquote Welsh Indians, and Lewis and Clark found absolutely nothing related to these people on their expedition.
Can you imagine, though? He's the one that had Monticello.
Yes.
And he's like, hey, Lewis and Clark, come to my beautiful, house in Virginia. Mm-hmm. And he's like, okay, sit down. We're going to have a little conversation. He's like, so while you're going on your little cross-country tour here, I need you to look out for Welsh Indians. And they're like,
excuse me, sir? We need you to look out for sandhill cranes.
And if you see those Welsh, you got to ask them where they're from.
And they said, what the fuck is a sandhill crane? That's a direct quote.
Like, can you imagine? Like, was Welsh Indian? Like, we're saying in quotes. We're using the verbiage of the time. Like, was that a big thing, or was this just like a hyper fixation
of Thomas Jefferson? I have no idea.
Do you have any thoughts?
Yeah, I have two things to say. The one thing was like, what if someone was just like, not like discrediting the Cherokee, but like someone was just pulling, their leg.
Yeah,
and
truly
made it up, and now like they have all these people invested in these Welsh Indians.
Sounds like this was a hoax that's gotten way out of control.
And my second thought was, because you were talking about like there was like say like a Welsh place or something like that. It reminds me of it was like somewhere in South America where I think it was the conquistadors. They, pulled up. And they were asking, like, the natives, like, what's this called? And it turns out, I think it was Yucatan. It was, like, Yucatan. And it turns out Yucatan means, like, or Yucatan means, like, what are you talking about? Or, like, I don't know. Or something like that.
Oh, my gosh. They were like, we can't understand you.
Yeah. Or, what are you saying?
That's the same story for how kangaroos got named, too.
Yeah.
Like they rolled on up to Australia, and the white explorers like, what are these? And the Aboriginal people are like, kangaroo, which means I don't understand. And they're like, oh yes, kangaroo. And I'm like, yeah, kangaroo.
They were like,
could you imagine being an Aborigine and
oh my god,
and seeing like a bunch of white people going around calling a creature you already know what it is and calling it an I don't know. Like, look, I don't know.
So my last thing here, I am almost done with this script, is I do want to give a brief nod to a Cherokee legend about the Yunwi-Sundi. And this literally, Yunwi-Sundi literally means, quote, little people. and they are spirits in Cherokee culture. They're creatures of magic. In English, they could be known as dwarves and or fairies. And when they reveal themselves, they are little people the size of children. And while typically known to be kindly towards their human neighbors, they can also be fierce towards those who disrespect them. And I wanted to bring up these spirits because I was picking up bits and pieces from various articles that seem to lump together the legends of Moon-Eyed People and the Yunwi-Sundi. And according to some articles, it seems to be believed that the Yunwi-Sundi could actually be the same thing as a moon-eyed person. I don't think those are the same thing. I think they are two separate legends. I don't want to be disrespectful towards the Cherokee people by lumping these two together if they shouldn't be. But I did want to add mention of the Yunwi-Sundi because they are spoken about very heavily in the one article I used for reference. And if someone, wanted to go look at this article and be like, why wasn't this talked about? I didn't want to just leave it out altogether. But where they got lumped in, the only place I saw them lumped together with Moon-Eyed People was in this article. So, but that makes me think this is two separate things.
That would be a cool topic, though.
It would be. I didn't find a lot about them, though. I did look into them briefly, and I didn't find a crazy amount.
Okay.
So I'm going to turn to our favorite source,
Woohoo!
Reddit.
I did find one encounter that wasn't specifically moon-eyed people, but it was, I looked up fae or humanoid encounters. Mm-hmm. If you want, I can read that one when you finish yours, if we need the filler.
I'm down for that.
It's just a weird Appalachian.
I'm super down for it. So I didn't find any encounters of moon-eyed people. After this war that they fought with the Cherokee people and their surrender, they appear to have just kind of vanished, unless they're chilling in Panama somewhere, who knows. But the thread that I did find was about, the thread was called Cherokee-Moon-Eyed People. And the question was, I stumbled upon the quote, Moon-Eyed People, which is a Cherokee folklore. According to some legends, they were present before the Cherokee came to the area and driven out in a battle at Fort Mountain, waged by the Cherokee when the full moon was too bright for their opponent's sensitive eyes. Does anyone have any knowledge of this? I'm looking to learn more. And then I pulled two responses from this. One was from Redditor Kiss My Bunny Butt. And I believe this person is Cherokee. Their response was and then in parentheses, Eastern Band, was always taught that they were simply legends, just like any of our other parable stories. Like with Grimm fairy tales and the like in Europe, the Moon-Eyed People were another way to teach children not to run off into the woods. Examples: it was said the Moon-Eyed People only came out at night because the sun was too bright for their eyes, and they would abduct people they caught out on their own. Translation: don't run off at night by yourself. The little people were said to live in a kind of alternate dimension. When you cross certain rivers and turn to look behind you, you'd suddenly be in their realm and might not ever get home. Translation: don't cross these specific rivers because that's too far from the village.
That's very Fae-like.
I had that thought too. It sounds like a hide behind too a little bit.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yes.
There were a couple more. The stone man lived in the mountains and would kill travelers if they ever looked upon him. Translation: don't climb the mountains. You'll fall and die, you silly child.
My brain went to don't look at people.
Don't look at people. Don't do that either.
Don't look me in the eye. I'll say that again. Yeah, don't look me in the eye.
And then they finished up by saying, the Moon-Eyed People are not ancient white people like some Appalachian lore suggests. They were said to be really They were said to be really, really short, not little people short, but close, and very inhuman looking. These were not just pale humans with light eyes. I thought that was interesting because that seemed to be from the point of view of a Cherokee person. Mm-hmm. And then the second one I pulled, I'm not going to say their entire response, but they had some really good points towards the beginning. Their name, the Redditor was Reed Stilt. And they said, one thing to be cautious of here, the Moon-Eyed People are frequently hijacked by the white American mythos and interpreted as misplaced Europeans, notably having blue eyes. This stems from saying that, quote-unquote, moon-eyed means pale-eyed, which means blue-eyed, which means Europe. Moon-eyed actually refers to them being nocturnal and being able to see in the dark. The quote you provide here at least seems to get that part. The moon-eyed people, from a folkloric perspective, are best viewed as an other than human people. And I thought, like I said, I thought that was a really, really good point, because the whole time I was researching this, everything was very, very, very whitewashed and got very, very far from the Cherokee people themselves.
What's so funny is whenever I heard moon-eyed, I never really thought of like blue eyes or pale eyes. I always thought of like their eyes were big and reflective.
Yeah, same.
That's how I always took it. I never really took it as like their eyes were a pale color, they were blue or something. I always took it as like their eyes like reflected the moon.
Mm-hmm. I always thought of that as, like you said, like they just had really big eyes.
Yeah.
Which would make sense if they're sensitive to light.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So.
Are they Schmeagle?
Schmeagle.
That's kind of what, like, when you say like the big, yeah.
What was I was about to say a Smeagol thing and it went right out of my head. Did you see me physically blue screen?
Yeah.
I literally your eyes like lit up and you're like, oh.
The light just drained out of my eyes.
It hurts us.
So, in conclusion, what we know about moon-eyed people is really not much. A lot of what we quote-unquote know comes from folklore across multiple cultures, both native and not. And I think it's important to realize that a lot of this also has been, like I said, heavily whitewashed. Many of the historical references are by white people rather than direct relations from Cherokee themselves. This is my theory. If they existed, I believe they could have been a band or tribe like of prehistoric people that maybe had albinism, because I do not quote me for gospel on this. I do believe that their like albinism is linked to issues with bright light, like something like with the genetics.
That would make sense. Yeah.
Right. So that's my take. I don't know what to make of the shortness of it all. I don't know where that would come in, except for if they were prehistoric, they might just not have been as tall as like human beings are/were.
Well, and like there are some branches of like the human ancestry tree, or like the human type ancestry tree, that were smaller.
Right.
That is a thing. So
yeah,
humans are animals, right?
Mm-hmm.
We adjust to our environment. So depending on what was going on at that time, being shorter in stature might have been kind of an advantage.
Sure.
And I also want to add too, the Appalachians are old as shit.
Oh yeah.
So if there's something prehistoric, I mean, to me, that's likely.
Yeah. I agree. I think it makes sense. Absolutely.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, let's smash a Reddit story to round this out.
I tried finding encounters and I didn't. And then I was like, Fae encounters in the Appalachian, because they are kind of Fae-like, especially those other ones that were not moon-eyed people but were similar.
That the Cherokee Redditor, like I said it reminded me of a high pine.
Yeah. So I'm just gonna read this Reddit encounter verbatim. So this is on our cryptid. So the thread was, I had a terrifying encounter in the Appalachian Mountains, and I'm looking for answers. Okay. So are you guys ready?
Yes.
I am sight reading this, so I browsed it, but
I love it.
let me start by saying I have lived in the Appalachian Mountains all of my life and have experienced a lot of strange things. My family was Irish and settled in West Virginia, but I currently live in the North Carolina portion of these wonderful mountains. That being said, I've learned a lot about what really lurks in these dark woods, but this was like nothing I had ever experienced before. It all began with my golden retriever, Ozzy, growling like I had never heard before. He literally never growls, so that had me already uncomfortable, but this growl was bone-chilling. It was like he was getting ready to have to fight for his life or something. I took both him and my other dog out at around 11 p.m., and he would not leave my side. I noticed that my workshop door was open, so I walked down to close it and lock it up. The entire time, he is glued to my side. Ozzy also kept trying to get in between my legs, still growling, and all of his hair sticking straight up like a feral animal. This part is in all caps. The second I close the door. All hell breaks loose in the woods. It sounded like 50 full-grown men had broken out into a full sprint, tearing through the woods. Trees were shaking and branches were falling. In my life, I had never been that scared. We got back into the house before I shit my pants. And I got my pistol/mag light to figure out what the hell was going on out there. When the dog and I got back outside, we were surrounded by what sounded like people mumbling. It was everywhere. I shined the light all over the woods and couldn't see anything. The sound was coming from all around. It sounded as if you got a full gym of people to baby mumble. You could almost make out words. That's why I don't think it was an animal. I almost immediately felt sick, like I was having a mix between a panic attack and the full swing of the flu. Back inside the house, it sounded like people were walking around all night. The windows were creaking, and you could clearly hear the sound of shoes on the gravel. The mumbling never stopped. Every time I got up to check the house, my feet would touch the floor and it would get dead silent. You couldn't hear birds, crickets, frogs, or anything. I was terrified and didn't sleep a wink. The air felt thick and evil all night. That's the only way I could explain the feeling. Imagine a soaking wet quilt being tossed over you, and that's how I felt.
Ooh.
I am looking for any answers as to what this could be. This wasn't like the normal spooky stories my grandmother and great uncles used to tell me. Most of the people who responded said about it being Sasquatch.
Oh.
Or like just some other kind of...
The 50 people gets me a little bit.
I mean, the one thing I thought of was like, and this is going to sound like very like, oh my God, I don't even know the word for it. Anyway, I was thinking ghosts.
Yeah.
Like, you know how like in Gettysburg Battlefield, people would see like, not like one apparition, but like a whole army.
Like a battalion.
Like a whole battalion.
Like charging across it. Yeah.
Yeah, that's because she didn't really see anything. They didn't really hear anything. They heard it. Mm-hmm. So, like, that's the one thing that came to my mind is like ghosts or something.
Right. The one article that I was looking at, this was the same article that I said kind of lumped the Yinwi into the Moon-Eyed people, did mention about like in the Yinwi Cherokee legends, they would come out at night and you weren't supposed to look at them. So that it kind of brought that to mind a little bit, but I like your theory of like, that makes a lot of sense.
The only thing with it being ghost is there's no way it could be a residual haunting because they were like almost interactive with them.
Yeah.
So like, I mean, if it was an active or like an intelligent haunting, I mean, right? Because
I mean, the one thing I was thinking of was that when they would like, you know, they said their feet would touch the ground, everything would go quiet. It's more their brain. You know what I mean? Like the defense, like I'm just coming at this at like I don't want to say metaphysical, but energy kind of. I like to think that there's spirits around you. It's just that you physically can't see them, but then there's times where you can. And it's like one of those times where like, you know, for some reason when their feet hit the ground, they kind of got more grounded and it just kind of blocked it. I mean, if you're a practitioner and you don't think that's right, or if I got this wrong, let me know. But this is just my theory.
And I would almost wonder, like, if it was just that part of being in the house, if it was almost, you know, when you're kind of going into a dream state and you're not quite asleep, but sometimes you'll hear things.
Yes.
But
I hate that.
The fact that
I don't hate that. I despise that.
But the fact that it happened in the woods.
Yeah.
And then they went back outside.
Yeah. Is it bad that my first thought as you were reading that and like the dog was trying to block the Redditor and everything, I was like, well, the Redditor's not a final girl. That workshop door would have stayed open. I would have locked my ass in the house.
Obviously not. It's the dog. The dog's a final girl.
The dog's a final girl. Well, friends.
And that's on a nice horror story.
Yes. What do you think it is, chat?
Do you want to go first with your thoughts if you have thoughts?
About like the Moon-Eyed people or like what you just read?
Moon-Eyed people.
Moon-Eyed people. I'm really mixed on it. I do believe like the stories that I've been told have been whitewashed to a point, especially like the whole like they're Europeans because I'm not gonna get to that whole can of worms.
The Europeans because we say they're Europeans.
Yeah, but yeah, I'm not gonna get to that whole can of worms. But I definitely think it's either something prehistoric or just, I wouldn't say cryptid, but like something not human.
Yeah.
Definitely not.
Like Fae realmy?
Maybe.
Maybe.
Yeah, maybe Fae. I could go with that.
Yeah.
That's kind of where we sat in the episode, the Appalachian Folklore episode 2, wasn't it?
I think so.
Because so like the whitewashed version reminds me of Washington Irving, the person that fell asleep, and because they were having too much fun playing 10 pins with
Rip Van Winkle?
Yep. Were those like dwarf, like Fae?
I think so.
That almost, like the whitewash version almost reminds me of that.
Mm-hmm.
But also, I know we joked about it, but like how likely is it that someone said it as a joke or as a hoax and then the European explorers took it way too seriously?
Like, sure. Absolutely.
So if it is supernatural, then my thought is we are kind of leaning more Fae type thing.
Mm-hmm.
If it's not supernatural, it's not aliens or a sandhill crane, unfortunately. That maybe it is more Fae, but I also don't want to like discredit the Cherokee legends.
Sure.
Because I don't know a whole lot about them.
Right.
But I don't want to discredit their culture and their beliefs either. But I also don't know that we necessarily, the history written down is going to show that unless you talk to someone who's part of that culture.
Right. So if there is anyone out there that is listening that is Cherokee or Cherokee descendant, by all means, please let us know if you know anything about this, what we got right, what we got wrong. We want to hear it from you.
Slide into our DMs.
Slide into our DMs.
Are you ready for questions? What drew you to this topic?
Well, we discussed the Moon-Eyed People briefly in our Appalachian Folklore episode, and I just wanted to explore them further. Thought they were fun.
It was fun. Did this episode go in the direction that you thought it would?
I think so. I feel like we all had really similar thoughts on this. Like, for the most part, yeah. I wasn't expecting sandhill cranes. I was not expecting Amir Talai to make an appearance. I was absolutely expecting Blake Roman to make an appearance because I will never stop.
Until you get the cease and desist.
Until I get a polite cease and desist.
If it's a rude one, you're going to keep going.
I'm going to cry.
What did you find the most strange about this topic?
Just how convoluted everything was. Like, literally, I tried to watch the YouTube, the one, all of my references are linked, by the way, but there were 2 YouTube videos I used. One is like an hour long, and that I was trying to get through that one, and my brain just hurt afterward. I was like, I can't follow this. Yeah, wild.
So that pretty much wraps up our deep dive into the Moon-Eyed People. We'd love to hear from you. If you have a suggestion for a strange or mysterious topic, a comment about an episode, or just want to chat, please reach out.
You can listen to us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, Audible, and YouTube. Comment directly on episodes on Spotify and YouTube, or leave a review of the podcast as a whole on either Spotify or Apple Podcasts.
Find us on Instagram at something_strangepod, on Facebook at Something Strange Podcast, subscribe to our YouTube channel at something_strangepod, and check out our strange content over at TikTok at somethingstrangepod01.
You can also send us a Gmail at somethingstrangepod24@gmail.com, and the 24 is numeric. Well, strangers, it's time for us to part ways.
Until we meet again, remember to be conscientious when exploring history and folklore.
We'll be back again soon with another
Something Strange. Good job,
Conscientious.
Conscientious.
Conscientious. She throws that word at me that I didn't see until 2 seconds before it.
I'm so sorry.
Good thing I was almost a 4.0 student.
Some people start their week with coffee. Ale starts hers with ghosts, mysteries, and things that go bump in the night. Welcome to Macabre Mondays, the podcast where mysteries meet the macabre. Join Alejandra, a lifelong storyteller with a passion for the strange and spooky, as she shares chilling tales with her husband Tom, who's hearing them for the very first time. It's part marriage, part mayhem, and all mystery, your weekly escape into haunted history, unsolved oddities, and the darker corners of life. New episodes drop every Monday, so ditch the morning blues and press play on something a little more macabre. Listen to Macabre Mondays wherever you get your podcasts.